So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Asphalian's webinar, a year after the entry into force of the new veterinary regulation. Before starting, just a couple of things to take into consideration about the webinar today. The webinar will last 30 minutes approximately. In case you have any questions, please submit them in the chat and we will reply them by email. We will also send you the presentation per email as well as the link to the recording. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today from the Pharmacovigilance Unit, Maria Ruiz, Drug Safety Manager. Maria has a degree in pharmacy, a postgraduate in pharmacovigilance, and 9 years experience in pharmacovigilance. In today's webinar, she will go over the legal framework and her experience with the regulation, providing feedback from the industry and upcoming changes. Now our colleague from the PV department, Alicia, will talk briefly about Asphalian's safety services.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for your introduction, and welcome all of you to this webinar. In Asphalion, we are a one-stop shop providing expert pharmacovigilance support throughout the whole product lifecycle, integrated in global context. In Asphalion, we have been providing pharmacovigilance support for more than 15 years, and we count with our own validated pharmacovigilance system and database. Since 2010, Asphalion supports its clients for compliance with the new pharmacovigilance legislation, offering, among others, full assistance with XCV-MPD. We are currently in more than 120 ongoing pharmacovigilance collaboration for over 60 clients, providing support for both human and veterinary drugs, from conducting pharmacovigilance activities in clinical trials to creating and maintaining a robust pharmacovigilance system once the products are marketed. In terms of veterinary pharmacovigilance, our expertise enables us to detect and adapt to our clients' real needs. We can offer a variety of services, including the establishment of QPPV, management of suspected adverse events, literature searches, among others. And in order to comply with the new regulation, we can support you on creating and maintaining the pharmacovigilance system master file, as well as signal management and detection activities. Now, I will let Maria talk about the challenges and learnings acquired since the implementation of the new veterinary regulation. But please, do not forget that if you need any kind of support, you can contact us and we will be more than glad to assist you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. So Maria will take it from here. Maria, please, whenever you are ready.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lydia. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. First, we will review the general principles of veterinary pharmacovigilance. We will go through signal management, pharmacovigilance system master file. We will share some feedback from industry that we have been collected from different forums. And we will review the upcoming changes and we will check the last updates in the pharmacovigilance regulation. Well, reviewing what was new from January 2022, the updates in the regulation were affected to the regulation 2019-06, the Commission Implementation Regulation, the ICH guidelines, and of course the good pharmacovigilance practice. These changes had an impact in all the marketing authorization holders' pharmacovigilance system, mainly due to the updates in the GVPs. The most important updates occurred in the collection and recording of suspect adverse events for veterinary medicinal products module, the signal management module, the pharmacovigilance system quality and pharmacovigilance system master file, and the veterinary communication module. Some of the most important changes, but not all of them, include the submission of volume of sales by the end of June of this year, the need to report suspect adverse reactions in humans, the implementation of signal management, which is replacing the PSURs, and the collection of antimicrobial sales and use data. the pharmacovigilance systems have been struggling to update their SOPs, and the new regulation states that marketing authorization holders shall have in place written procedures, including all these items. These items concern case management, including recording, collection, data handling, evaluation, monitoring, and including in the Union Pharmacovigilance database, archiving of all the relevant documents, risk management system, including signal management, continuous monitoring of benefit-risk balance of veterinary medicinal products, overarching communication plan. Also, document management system, training, and audits. All these items should be placed in written procedures. There's no need to have a written procedure for each item, but all of these need to be included in our SOPs. Okay. Let's go to signal management. As already mentioned, PSURs are no longer required, and this activity has been replaced by continuous signal management. Let's go briefly to the signal management process, starting from signal detection, which is performed at least once a year as per the regulation, but the frequency may vary depending on the type of product, the length of time in the market, the stability of the pharmacovigilance profile, and the identified and potential risks. We can perform the signal detection activities once a month, every 3 months, every 6 months, or a year instead. The sources for signal detection are clinical trials, the scientific literature, known clinical trial data, post-marketing surveillance study, and the Union Pharmacovigilance database. Marketing authorization holders that has its own pharmacovigilance database can use this one as a source of information also for signal detection. Let's go briefly to the process. Signal detection implies detecting possible risks. Signal validation means to evaluate the initial data and assess if there is sufficient evidence. We will be checking if the temporal association between the event and the administration of the product. We will assess also if the signal is not raised because of duplicate reports. We will check if this adverse event is captured in the reference safety information. And we also be checking that if the increase of a certain adverse reaction is related to an increase also in the sales volumes. Okay, signal assessment involves the review of all the available evidence, and the aim is to conclude if there is a potential causal association. So we will take into account the seriousness, severity, outcome, and reversibility. And possible outcomes of signal assessment can be the signal refuted, in which we state that there is no causal relationship, close monitoring when we do not have enough information or enough evidence to conclude if it is related or not. And we can also assess the signal and state that we need the regulatory action, which could be the amendment of the product information, to conduct a marketing surveillance study, to implement additional risk minimization measures, or even the suspension or withdrawal of the marketing authorization, or also the batch recall. Let's see a couple of examples of signal assessment. For example, we identified the signal of diarrhea in dogs. We have 6 cases. 3 of them report few information. 2 of them report concomitant medication in which diarrhea is listed in the product information, and one case we consider that diarrhea is related to an underlying condition of the dog. In this case, the conclusion would be that the signal is refuted because we do not have evidence to state a causal relationship. Sample 2. We have the signal of blindness in cats. We have 4 cases. 2 of them report too limited information for assessment. 1 of them report confounded factors by underlying condition, for example, diabetes and elderly in the cat. And we have 1 case in which the event occurred 3 months after the administration of the product. In this case, we will assess this signal as close monitoring, okay? Because we do not have information enough to exclude the causal relationship, neither to confirm it. Another important thing is that signal prioritization, in which we will be focusing in those signals with a potential for significant impact on the benefit-risk balance, or those signals with impact in animal or public health. In this sense, signals can be emerging safety issues for which we have to report to health authorities this emerging safety issue within 3 working days. We find also signals involving medically important terms. We have at least 3 cumulative cases, and we have to prioritize always these signals. Or we can have other signals in which there is a new identified risk or a change in the benefit-risk balance. And we, in these cases, we will be reporting the signals after 30 days of awareness, or signals for which we do not have any new risk or changes in the benefit risk. And we will submit these signals within the annual statement or annual submissions. Let's review annual submissions. Annual submission should be performed at least 2 months before the due date. We need to record the conclusion in the UPD and confirm that the signal management process has been conducted. This is performed annually. And if we do not have any signal detected or validated, we will go to standard statement. If we have validated signals that do not require a regulatory action, we will do an annual submission through UPD. And signals without delay or any other signals already reported do not need to be resubmitted unless new information is received. For annual submission, always to check the annual statement submission dates published by the EMA. And in this sense, for signals under close monitoring for an extended period, if we want to stop the close monitoring, we can propose it by the annual submission. And for signals under close monitoring and already submitted more than 6 months before the due date, the entry should be updated by the annual submission. The new EMA platforms involved in signal management include EVVET. We will be using EVVET to ICSR screening and retrieval. We will use EVVET data warehouse as a signal detection source. We can use it. There is a specific signal detection dashboard here. We can set our filters and the characteristics of the reports that we want to analyze for signal detection. The same for signal evaluation. There is also a dashboard in EVVet data warehouse for signal evaluation. We also have some filters and predefined characteristics. We can select. We can add the limits to retrieve the reports for analysis. And finally, the submission is performed in Iris. This is the view for new signal submission, and this is the view for annual statement submissions. Now, after the experience of this year, we will share some tips after some lessons learned in signal management. First is always to check the annual submission dates in EMA website. This is published once a year. Also, always to use updated EMA templates. It is important to be aware and be checking on a regular basis the EMA website, the pharmacovigilance part of the EMA website, because EMA is updating documents, guidelines all the time, including the forms or templates for signal assessment. This is the signal assessment report template for validated signals in the Union PV database or any other source. Always a good practice, maybe to check if our assessment of a signal is aligned with other assessment performed by marketing authorization holders, is to check in Iris the signals submitted by other companies for our active substances. Okay, you can check this in Iris, and you can see the new signals and also the annual statements submitted by other marketing authorization holders. Another very important tip is to check your access to the different EMA platforms on a regular basis. Companies have been having issues when accessing EMA platforms. As you may already know, EMA has been updating the system and the authentication system for accessing its platforms. So it is a good practice to check this on a regular basis. And also get familiar with EMA platforms such as EVVet Data Warehouse with time enough before performing the signal management. Okay, sometime before the deadline, we aim you to check and try to retrieve reports and get familiar with this platform. Okay, let's go to Pharmacovigilance System Master File. Let's review what is new from January 2022. As you already know, detailed description of the Pharmacovigilance System Master File is replaced by Pharmacovigilance System Master File. From January 2022, all marketing authorization holders must have in place their PSMF. For all the applications after January 2022, the summary of the PSMF needs to be included in the dossier, and any changes of the summary of the PSMF require a variation that needs to be submitted through the Union Product Database. Regarding the PSMF location, this needs to be located where the QPPV operates or the pharmacovigilance activities are performed. The availability, QPPV has permanent access to the PSMF, and it must be available for inspection. And this is important you to know that competent authorities may request to submit an update copy of the PSMF with the annexes anytime. Sometimes they they give you 7 days for its submission. So it is important to have always the PSMF updated. Regarding the maintenance, of course, the PSMF should be always up to date and shall be subject to version control. Any change in the main part of the PSMF shall be recorded, and any change in the PSMF summary shall be notified by EMA by reporting a variation. Regarding the content, the PSMF, as you know, contains several sections. Section A is the information on the PSMF. Section B, the QPPV, the information about the veterinary surgeon when the QPPV is not a veterinary surgeon, and backup procedures. Section C for marketing authorization holder information. Section D for document management system. Section E for quality management system activities, and Section F for contractual arrangements for marketing authorization holders and third parties concerning pharmacovigilance activities. After our experience, let's share some tips regarding the PSMF. One tip is always to track and update the status of the agreements with third parties and include them in the PSMF. Any third party carrying out pharmacovigilance activities should be captured in Section F of the PSMF. Do not forget about distributors and local contacts in other countries with PV responsibilities, and in this sense, a good communication with other departments, such as Reg Affairs, is essential. Another tip is regarding the performance indicators. They must be effective, realistic, and measurable. You must ensure that you have the infrastructure enough to assess the performance indicators, and they need to be added to the Section E of the PSMF, including the reason why they have been chosen and a description on how to use them in our daily activities in pharmacovigilance. Examples of these KPIs, of these performance indicators, are the timelines for submission cases to health authorities, which can be captured as the percentage of cases submitted on time. The quality of cases, this means data entry errors, seriousness assessment correctness. We can capture this as the percentage of cases without errors. And we can assess also the timelines of submission of signal reports. And we can capture this information as a percentage of signal reports submitted on time. Another tip is always to keep your SOPs up to date, as the SOPs are a very important part of the PSMF, and the pharmacovigilance regulation in veterinary have recently changed. Main changes are in place now. So it is highly recommended to update all the SOPs. The good pharmacovigilance practices are a good starting point, and as already mentioned, ensure that you have written procedures for all the items listed in the section 221 of the GVP module Pharmacovigilance System and their Quality System Pharmacovigilance System master files. Previous slides include the list. And finally, and this tip is also applicable for any pharmacovigilance activity, not only the PSMF, but also signal detection or any other issue that you may come across during pharmacovigilance activities, is always to raise questions to EMA whenever needed. responsiveness from EMA regarding veterinary increase is quite high compared with human, and we have different channels to contact EMA. Always, as usual, the service desk. This one is used more for IT issues or permissions issues. Okay, in EMA platforms. Other option is to ask a question in the online form available in EMA website. And also you can send an email to EMA. But please note that this email address is only applicable until the 1st of July of this year. Okay, after this year, industry has shared their point of view and their feedback. Let's start with the aim of the new regulation of the updates. It was first reduce the administrative burden. Industry complains about the high burden regarding the after these updates. Enhance the internal market. The EMA, the pharmacovigilance companies, they say that further harmonization, optimization of regulatory environment is needed, and the regulation aimed to increase the availability, but industry has not noted improvements due to the previous, the 1 and 2 reasons. As a summary, the industry complained about the high workload and administrative burden because of the creation and update of SOPs, the PSMF, and recording information in UPD. They complained also about issues when accessing EMA platforms, the authentication method, permission issues of the QPP or PV relevant staff. They noted confusion when navigating in EMA websites. Maybe this picture is familiar for some of you. For me, it is. They said that there are differences between national competent authorities' interpretation of the regulation regarding the representatives of pharmacovigilance. And they state that since the UPD was introduced, it has not yet yielded its expected benefit, but on the contrary, has created significant administrative burden. In general, they complain about the unrealistic timelines, and they made the suggestion to consider this year as another transition year. Let's go to upcoming changes. The signal management process could be updated by the second half of this year. The EMA contact, the email will be discontinued on the 1st of July. The restriction of antimicrobials used under cascade is expected by Q2 of this year. The guideline on risk assessment of antimicrobials is expected for Q4 of this year. And the monitoring of antimicrobial sales and use increased by 2024. Also by 2024, the data exchange between systems and publication of adverse events incidents. Some new information or new updates in pharmacovigilance guidelines include the following. The annex of contact points to interim measures regarding notification of pharmacovigilance alerts by marketing authorization holders have been updated in March. Also, of course, the recommended due dates for submitting annual statements for centrally and non-centrally authorized products. Also, as already shared in another slide, the signal assessment report template has been published in March too. And also the questions and answer document on how adverse events are described in product information or summary of product characteristics and package leaflet, also updated in March of this year. Okay, now the presentation comes to an end. If you have any question, please send an email to Asphalion, and we will be happy to reply all the inquiries as soon as possible by email, okay?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Maria. Thank you for this
Thank you.
fantastic presentation, and thank you to all the attendees. We hope you enjoy it, and we will send the presentation shortly, as Maria just said. And remember that if you have any question, you can send an email to info@asphalion.com. Have a nice afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.